Before I published The Innovator's Dilemma, I got a call from Andrew Grove, then the chairman of Intel. He had read one of my early papers about disruptive technology, and he asked if I could talk to his direct reports and explain my research and what it implied for Intel. Excited, I flew to Silicon Valley and showed up at the appointed time, only to have Grove say, "Look, stuff has happened. We have only 10 minutes for you. Tell us what your model of disruption means for Intel." I said I couldn't. I said that I couldn't, that I needed a full 30 minutes to explain the model, because only with it as context would any comments about Intel make sense. 10 minutes into my explanation, Grove interrupted. "Look, I've got your model. Just tell us what it means for Intel." I insisted that I needed 10 more minutes to describe how the process of disruption had worked its way through a very different industry, steel, so that he and his team could understand how disruption worked. I told the story of how Nucor and other steel mini mills had begun attacking the lowest end of the market, steel reinforcing bars, or rebar, and later moved up toward the high end, undercutting the traditional steel mills. When I finished the mini mill story, Grove said, "Okay, I get it. What it means for Intel is," and then went on to articulate what would become the company's strategy for going to the bottom of the market to launch the Celeron processor. I've thought about that a million times since. If I had been suckered into telling Andy Grove what he should think about the microprocessor business, I'd have been killed. But instead of telling him what to think, I taught him how to think, and then he reached what I felt was the correct decision on his own. That experience had a profound influence on me. When people ask what I think they should do, I rarely answer their question directly. Instead, I run the question aloud through one of my models. I'll describe how the process in the model worked its way through an industry quite different from their own. And then, more often than not, they'll say, "Okay, I get it," and they'll answer their own question more insightfully than I could have. My class at HBS is structured to help my students understand what good management theory is and how it is built. To that backbone, I attach different models or theories that help students think about the various dimensions of a general manager's job in stimulating innovation and growth. In each session, we look at one company through the lenses of those theories, using them to explain how the company got into its situation and to examine what managerial actions will lead the needed results. On the last day of class, I ask my students to turn those theoretical lenses on themselves to find cogent answers to 3 questions. First, how can I be sure that I'll be happy in my career? Second, how can I be sure that my relationships with my spouse and my family become an enduring source of happiness? Third, how can I be sure I'll stay out of jail? Though the last question sounds lighthearted, it's not. 2 of the 32 people in my Rhodes Scholar class spent time in jail. Jeff Skilling of Enron fame was a classmate of mine at HBS. These were good guys, but something in their lives sent them off in the wrong direction. As the students discuss the answers to these questions, I hope my own life to them as a case study of sorts to illustrate how they can use the theories from our course to guide their life decisions. One of the theories that gives great insight on the first question, how to be sure we find happiness in our careers, is from Frederick Hertzberg, who asserts the powerful motivator in our lives isn't money. It's the opportunity to learn, grow in responsibilities, contribute to others, and be recognized for achievements. I tell the students about the vision of sorts I had while I was running the company I founded before becoming an academic. In my mind's eye, I saw one of my managers leave for work one morning with a relatively strong level of self-esteem. Then I pictured her driving home to her family 10 hours later, feeling unappreciated, frustrated, underutilized, and demeaned. I imagined how profoundly her lower self-esteem affected the way she interacted with her children. The vision in my mind then fast-forwarded to another day, when she drove home with greater self-esteem, feeling that she had learned a lot, been recognized for achieving valuable things, and played a significant role in the success of some important initiatives. I then imagined how positively that affected her as a spouse and a parent. My conclusion: management is the most noble profession if it's practiced well. No other occupation offers as many ways to help others learn and grow, take responsibility and be recognized for achievement, and contribute to the success of a team. More and more MBA students come to school thinking that a career in business means buying, selling, and investing in companies. That's unfortunate. Doing deals doesn't yield the deep rewards that come from building up people. I want students to leave my classroom knowing that.